Okay, so if you're ready to go, I think we'll kick off. So good morning, everyone. You're very welcome to this Horizon Europe Brokerage event this morning. My name is Isabel Fletcher. I'm the acting CEO of Horizon NUA, and we are the co-organisers of this Connecting Nature Enterprise Summit, which is being hosted by the City of Poznan. So it is my great pleasure this morning to chair this plenary session of our brokerage event. Just before I introduce our panelists, I'd like to just address some housekeeping issues. So just to let you all know that this event is being recorded and will be available on the Connecting Nature website in the days after the summit. If you have any questions or comments, please put them into the chat. And if we have time, we will try to get to one or two of them before we go to the breakout rooms. So, as you all know, the Horizon Europe calls for 2021 and 2022 have been launched by the European Commission. NatureBased Solutions feature heavily in the programme, and given that we are talking so much about nature-based solutions and the nature-based economy, we thought it opportune to host an event to dissect some of the calls coming up in 2022. So let me introduce our panelists this morning who are going to provide an overview of the new Horizon Europe calls for nature-based solutions and also provide you some excellent tips on how to maximize your chances of a successful application in an incredibly competitive environment. So our first panelist this morning is Tiago Freitas from the European Commission, I think familiar to many of you. Tiago works at the Commission as Policy Officer for Nature-Based Solutions, and I think I am correct in saying this, that he's probably been instrumental in developing and producing the Horizon Europe Work Programme. Dr. Emma Siddall is the Horizon Europe Research Funding Manager with Trinity College Dublin. Emma is highly experienced when it comes to writing grant proposals, and she has joined us today to give us her insights into how to maximise your chances of success in the next round of Horizon Europe bids. So let's first turn to Tiago, who's going to provide an overview of the nature-based solutions calls in Horizon Europe. Tiago, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. I'll share my screen now. Can all see the screen now? So thank you so much. My name is Tiago Freitas. I'm a policy officer in DG Research and Innovation of the European Commission. And today I will be presenting opportunities for nature-based solutions in the first work program of Horizon Europe, mostly in Cluster 6. I'm the responsible person in DG Research and Innovation for NBS project topics, in Cluster 6. And it's a pleasure to be here today. This first presentation of the topics. The approach today is a little bit constrained because of time. So I will be presenting more in depth. One of the topics will provide a list of other topics that I selected and that I found were most relevant for the community that is attending today this event. So the topic that I've selected is the topic on economics of nature-based benefit analysis, market development, and funding. This is a research and innovation action. And to give you a bit of the reasoning behind this topic, we all know that nature-based solutions contribute to the EU biodiversity strategy for 2030 and also other Green Deal priorities through the provision of key ecosystem services. We also know that these solutions, they produce very different benefits, and many are public goods with limited revenue streams. We still lack detailed understanding of these benefits. In order to scale up nature-based solutions, we need to address knowledge gaps about the economic and financial performance of these solutions, and also to develop business cases and models for implementation of nature-based solutions. Now, up to the expected outcomes, this proposal topic was drafted having in mind that at the moment we have a very rich and growing portfolio of NBS projects in Horizon 2020. They are addressing many different issues, including some of them issues of the economics of nature-based solutions. But we believe there was lacking this dedicated topic to explore business models and to gain a better understanding of the economic and financial performance of nature-based solutions. So this is one of the expected outcomes, and also to accelerate market uptake. We also expect that actors involved in the markets of nature-based solutions will be better equipped to conduct cost-benefit analysis and monetization of nature-based solutions. It is also expected that NBS business case will be improved and thus contributing to a greater adoption of these solutions and awareness of their benefits, and also that regional and Europe-wide advisory services will be better equipped to support NBS project development. If we go into the detailed scope of the topic, the proposals should analyze the potential for development of specific demand and supply chain in nature-based solutions, provide also methodological guidance on assembling NBS business case, develop coaching programs on NBS readiness assistance and additional training events. They should also create new or assess, streamline, and provide access to existing toolboxes to support regional needs related to NBS financing and implementation. They should analyze novel approaches, including NBS green finance at appropriate levels. And they should also identify the potential for private investment in different NBS typologies, while identifying the critical conditions for upscaling. This is a short summary of the scope. If you want to know more details, I invite you to read the topic text in the work program. I can also say that indicative budget for this topic is 5 million euros and one project to be selected. It's also important to emphasize that the proposals are expected to envisage the necessary resources for collaboration with other projects on nature-based solutions in Horizon, their respective task forces, projects scanning in Horizon Europe, and as well as the biodiversity partnership. It's also important to mention that social sciences and humanities should be included in the proposal, and that the outputs of the project should be visible, which is the EU repository for nature. So this is what I had to present on this specific topic. The that I've selected that I believed were and relevant for you today. So other opportunities in 2021 include this first topic on nature-based solutions in the insurance sector. It's the CSA, coordination and support action. One project to be selected of 4 million euro. This is a project that builds on the work done by Research and Innovation Action of Horizon 2020. And the aim here is to get a greater engagement of the insurance sector in NBS activities. The second topic here is on coastal and marine ecosystem restoration and resilience in simplified socio-ecological systems. It's an innovation action, one project to be selected up to 10 million euros. Then we have a topic here on impact and dependence of business on biodiversity. This is not exactly on nature-based, that today we have a lot of business representatives attending this event. I thought this would be interesting too. There is a lot of topics on transformation, on the impact of business on natural capital in the work program, and I didn't list them all here, so I invite you to read more carefully the work program. This topic innovation action, up to 2 projects to be selected, 3 million euros. Then we have 2 very interesting topics in destination of Cluster 6 on agroecology and agroforestry. These are 2 research and innovation actions that aim to develop these approaches for mainly climate mitigation, but also to increase the resilience of agricultural production, enhance biodiversity, and other sustainability goals. The first one on agroecology is a research innovation action, 1 project to be selected of 7 million euros, and the other one on agroforestry, 2 projects will be selected of 4 million euros each. Finally, in 2021, I've selected this topic from Cluster 5 on the natural wetland floodplains as a strategy for fast mitigation benefit, climate mitigation. Hence, this is the topic in Cluster 5. This is a research and innovation action. Projects will be selected of 6 to 7 million euro each. If 2022, we have these 2 first topics. Okay, so I was telling you about the 2 topics, the first 2 topics here on the sociopolitics of nature-based solutions, and the other one on nature-based therapy. These will be further developed later today. Telling you that the first one on the sociopolitics is a kind of a mirror topic to the one on the economics of nature-based solutions. As we believed, given the current portfolio of projects, that we still lack a detailed and in-depth exploration of the economic and socio-political side of nature-based solutions. So the idea of this first topic here is to go in depth into issues of culture, perceptions of nature, issues of governance and co-creation, inequalities, gentrification and the prevention of gentrification created by greening of cities, for instance, and also inclusion of minorities, and I think this is more or less the scope of it. The second one on the nature-based therapy aims to explore in more detail the causality relation between green spaces and human health and well-being, and also to develop some nature-based therapy prescriptions. The third one here, Network for Nature, is a CSA for a multi platform to promote nature-based solutions. Of course, you all know that we already have a project called Network Nature, but once this project is finished, we need to have a new CSA to continue the very good work to create this platform to promote nature-based solutions. Then we have a topic on nature-based solutions for nutrient management in agriculture. This with the China cooperation. This is an innovation action, up to 2 projects to be selected of 6 million euro each. Then another topic on marine, so integration of marine ecosystem service evaluation, conservation and restoration in socioeconomic models. It's an innovation action, 1 project of 9 million euros. And finally, a topic from Cluster 5 on rewilding landscapes for carbon sequestration, climate adaptation, and biodiversity support. This is a research and innovation action, up to 2 projects to be selected of 8 to 9 million euro each. So this is the selection that I've done. It doesn't mean that there aren't any other topics that might be relevant for you in the work program. So I invite you to read the work program. And also, if you want to have about those topics, you can read them in more depth. If you have any questions, I can try to address some today, but for in-depth questions, I invite you to use the participant portal or to attend the info days and see if you can get those answers, especially for the topics that were not drafted by me on marine or pollution or from Cluster 5. Having said this, I think we are in a very, very exciting moment. As you may understand, nature-based solutions are now more and more recognized internationally at the EU level and in the member states. And this is mostly or greatly due to the work that 2020 projects have done. So we are very excited that we continue to invest on nature-based solutions in Horizon Europe, and this is very interesting also to see that the results of the projects of Horizon 2020 are already being considered by policymakers both at the EU and member state level. So it's exciting also for the projects to see that they contribute to a change in the world that is much needed. So I finish now with my contacts here. You also have some links to reference material, the recent reports we've published on nature-based solutions in our website, and also some links to information on Horizon Europe, including at the end, you have there the link to the Cluster 6 Info Day 8th Brokerage event on the 9th of July. So this is the place to go if you want to know more about the different topics and to ask specific questions. So thank you so much. This is all for me.
Thank you, Tiago. Thank you, and well done for getting back into us there. I know we're running a little bit behind. I have one question here from Siobhan McQuaid. Could she ask Tiago or Emma, what are the conditions for inclusion of participants from the Global South? From the policy dialogue yesterday, it appears that there's much to learn and gain from working with partners outside of Europe. And is this something that is specifically encouraged in Horizon Europe? Tiago, I'll throw that one out to you.
Yeah, sure. There are, in fact, this is very important, and there are some topics encouraging specific participation of partners from beyond Europe. I know that the one on assessing the sociopolitics of nature-based solutions includes Latin America as one of the key regions, and also the United States, and the one on nature therapy, for instance, also Latin America again, the United States, and also Japan. There are many other topics which encourage participation of African countries. I don't know in detail. I know better the topics that I have drafted. Yeah. The one on the economics of nature-based solutions doesn't make any specific mention to any region, but international collaboration is always encouraged. Yeah.
Great. Thank you for that, Tiago. Now, Emma, I am really looking forward to your presentation this morning and your insightful views on how to improve our chances of success in the next round of project bids. So off you go.
Hello, and many thanks for inviting me. So my name is Emma Siddall, and I work in Trinity College Dublin, which is the coordinating institution for Connecting Nature. And I currently work as the Horizon Europe Research Funding Manager for the university, along with other colleagues. It's not just me. So I have a lot of experience in writing EU research grants, but also I was the Connecting Nature program or project manager for a while, working with Marcus Collier. So many of you in the project will know my face from then. So nice to see you again. So I just wanted to, first of all, thank Tiago for an excellent overview of the NBS topics available within the upcoming Horizon Europe work programs. And he's really gone in depth into one specific topic to just highlight to us what the Commission is looking for. And that's great. And you should be looking at these topics and figuring out where you fit and what you want and where you want to respond. But I suppose I want to just encourage you to not just look at the topic, and to say that in order to be successful, you have to look at the wider picture. Don't just read the topic text in the work program. So you read that topic text, but you have to go outside of that. You need to understand that all of these topics have been driven by a policy driver from the EU, and the EU has policy priorities. They are being used to develop their strategic plan for Horizon Europe for 2021 to 2024. And it's important that you understand this to be able to contextualize the proposal that you develop. So the EU policy priorities for 2021 to 2024 are detailed here, and they include the European Green Deal, which I'm sure you're all very familiar with. Also things like promoting the European way of life and ensuring the appropriate digital transition. So when we then look at the clusters 5 and 6 work programs that you are all interested in looking at nature-based solutions, there are other policy documents which we need to consider. And these include the UN Sustainable Development Goals. So, as you start to develop your projects, thinking about how you're linking the proposal you want to write to meeting these UN Sustainable Development Goals. but also things like a cleaner planet for all, which is the EU climate policy, and that's really relevant in Cluster 5, but also in Cluster 6, we have the EU Biodiversity Strategy for 2023, the Bioeconomy Strategy, the EU Forest Strategy, Blue Growth Strategy, and others. So just make sure, as you're writing, to be considering how you're ticking the boxes for these policy documents. Then go and look at the actual work program as well, and make sure that you're looking at not just your topic that you're looking at, but also the introductory text to that work program. And then each work program is broken down into destinations. So you heard Tiago talking about a climate topic, you heard him talking about a biodiversity topic. Each of these will be in different parts of the work program called destinations. And you again need to look at the introductory text to that destination. And then you need to look at the topic, the call text, and you write your proposal. So just to kind of say, there's lots of background reading, and it will definitely improve the competitiveness of your proposal if you manage to do all of that. So let's look at what you actually have to write. So those of you who are familiar with Horizon 2020 will know that these proposals were tended to be written in 3 sections, dealing with excellence, impact, and implementation, and that is staying within Horizon Europe. But there are some differences within the Horizon Europe template, and the main one is it's shorter. So in Horizon 2020, we had 70 pages to play with, and now when you're writing a research innovation or an innovation action, which is predominantly the topics you're looking at, you only have 45 pages. I will say the Commission has not really reduced what they're looking for, and so we just have to be a bit more succinct in the way that we're writing it. And that means your messaging has to be crystal clear so you can get across how you're meeting all of the evaluation criteria across these 3 sections in only 45 pages. So let's look at the evaluation criteria. Again, they're in the 3 sections, so excellence, impact, and implementation. And, you know, broadly speaking, they're the same as what we would have been seeing in Horizon 2020. So many of you on the call will have experience with that already. So just to say that one change that we're seeing is that the open science practices, which I'll talk about later on, have moved into the excellence criteria that are being evaluated here. So this is just to promote the idea that excellent science that is really moving towards the knowledge base and the potential for impact, is open science. So open science means that you're sharing the outputs of the work, you're making the publications open access, you're also making the data open access. But it's more than that. It's also about this kind of co-created research process. And I think that that is something that Connecting Nature has been incredibly strong on, this co-created, co-produced work using the research design process and research execution process to bring together the end users of the work to make sure that the whole research life cycle is its most useful. And you're not just disseminating out the results of research at the end of a project, you're actually bringing your users in from the very beginning. And the focus of that process in Horizon Europe is really amplified in comparison to Horizon 2020. And I think that you as a cohort of people are really well placed to capitalize on that. I want to talk to you a little bit about some of the changes in the impact evaluation criteria. So this has changed, probably this is the biggest change we're seeing in Horizon Europe from Horizon 2020. So you're being asked to create a narrative as to how your project is going to achieve the expected outcomes within the call text. That's at call topic level. And these are medium-term outcomes or benefits from the project. And then longer-term expected impacts. And these impacts are at the destination level within the work programs. That's why I'm saying you have to read all the sections of the work program relevant, because you're going to get different pieces of information from different places. So you have to be able to say how your project is reaching those expected outcomes and also the expected impacts in the longer term. And a new kind of a terminology is referring to these concepts of scale and significance indicators. So you're being asked to quantify how your project is going to bring us as a Europe towards these outcomes and impacts in both terms of scale and significance. So what does that mean? Scale refers to how widespread these outcomes and impacts are likely to be. So for example, if you're seeking to improve access to green space in urban areas, how many people are likely to gain improved access? So that's the scale, the number of a target audience that is going to see improvement. The significance then is the value or importance of that benefit. So again, for the green space example, What is the quality of the green space that these people are gaining access to? So, you know, you can have loads of people gaining access to extra green space, but it could be a terrible green space in terms of recreational quality, or any other quality measure you want to use. And so it's about balancing the story of both. Okay, so I'll move on to some general kind of policy considerations that run across all Horizon Europe projects and just you need to be aware of. So open science, we've already talked about that. It's about open access to publications, open data, making sure that the data is reusable, but also making sure that you're just bringing citizens in and ensuring that you have this kind of end user involvement and co-creative process within the research. The gender dimension is not talking about balance of gender within your research team or the project. It's actually looking at the disaggregation of any data that you're collecting by gender. So what is the difference between men and women in the data that's being gathered? And for what you're doing, that's probably a huge thing, because men and women use space differently, they interact with nature differently. And so what is that difference? And build that into the research process. And don't use it as a box ticking exercise, because gendered research is good research. It's how we find innovations and move forward to ensure that what we're doing and the science we're creating and the innovations we're creating are usable for all members of society. And that includes both differentiating between men and women. So just building that into the whole kind of research ethos and methodological design of the project is really important. We talked a little bit about this idea of pathways to impact, so that's the narrative of impact, but I'm going to talk about that again in a little moment. And then there's the do no significant harm principle and the AI. So you can read a little bit more about those. I'm not going to spend any time on them. So just coming back to this idea about these pathways to impact. So what does that mean? It's the biggest change we're seeing in the template. So as you're defining the scope of your project and thinking you find a topic that looks of interest to you, you want to write a proposal on it. So how do you start? We've already said that we're going to read the relevant policy documentation that we have seen that is pertinent to the topic. We're then going to look at the call text within the work program. So here we're going to look at the introductory text, and that's going to give you an idea of what the policy documents you need to look at. But then you're going to read the introduction to the destination. And if you look at any of the work program PDFs, you'll see exactly what I mean here. This destination is going to specify for you the expected impact, the long-term impact that the Commission wants to see with a portfolio of projects, not just your project. Many, many projects funded in this destination are seeking to work together to achieve this impact over a longer term scale. Then at the call topic level, you're going to see expected outcomes. And these are what your project is expected to achieve in the medium term. So probably just after the lifetime of the project, they want to see that you're achieving these. And then from this, you're going to funnel down and determine what the project proposal will be and what the research results and outputs from the project will be. So once you know all of that, you then have to work backwards as you're creating your pathways to impact section in its section 2.1 of the proposal. So here we need to think, these are the research results we're going to create. How are we going to create these results or bring these results forwards to achieve these outcomes? Because you can do the best work and have the most amazing results. If they sit on a dusty shelf or in a hard drive that no one ever looks at, they're useless. So we have to bring them out. We have to communicate, disseminate, and exploit these results. And so really the Pathways to Impact section is talking about linking these results that you have created in your project to these expected outcomes from the call text, to these expected impacts from the destination text, and what are the dissemination, exploitation, and communication activities you will put in place to reach the relevant target audiences to ensure that you actually achieve this properly. So as we then move forward into developing the proposal itself, again in the impact section, we see this table. It's a summary table on impact section 2.3. It's again a new edition, and it's 2 pages. So here, what we're expecting to see is that you would write in these 6 text boxes over 2 pages the specific needs your project is addressing. So why are you bothering? What is the reason for developing this project that excites you? What are the expected results that you hope to create within this project? And again, as I've already said, what are the linked dissemination, exploitation, and communication measures that you want to put in place from these expected results to bring them to your relevant target audience? So you can see we are progressing in the kind of logical way here. So when you use these dissemination, communication, and exploitation measures to bring the results to the target audiences, you should then see that we're starting to achieve these outcomes. And these outcomes for your specific project obviously must be linked to the outcomes expected in the call text. And then moving forwards then to the destination level of the expected impacts, again, how are we moving forward in a logical way towards achieving these impacts? And the expectation would be that these impacts will be delineated by type of impact. So they could be scientific impact, economic impact, societal impact. And putting metrics on this, providing targets and indicators to assess how we achieve these targets is absolutely essential. So I would say this is the starting point that when I work with a researcher on a topic they're interested in coordinating, this is the table we start on. So if we can fill this out in a first conversation and make sure we're covering all of the topic text, this is a very good place to be. Because once you know this, you have a vague structure on the project, and you can start to then determine what is the right team for your project. So when you have this project, you know then what the results are. So what the results you're expecting to create. So what are the expertise you need? What is the infrastructure you need to deliver these expected results? That's going to help you determine what your consortium needs to look like. Look at the call text, because frequently the call text is going to call out certain specific disciplines that are needed to be included in the consortium. So for example, the topic we're going to break out into the session today on health and well-being specifically calls for inclusion of experts from health and natural sciences, as well as SSH, so social sciences and humanities, as well as representatives from the health sector, businesses, civil society. So this is already telling you a successful consortium is going to include these groups. Which partners then are going to help you maximize your dissemination, communication, and exploitation measures? So it might not just be a company that deals with impact. It might not be just that. It could be that you need a partner who is a lead representative of a key target group, and they actually need to be a partner rather than just somebody you're going to have as an audience member for your communication activities. So that deals with the next point. And then, are there members of previous successful consortia that need to become partners? So again, Tiago has alluded to the fact that frequently linkages with previous topics are called out in the call text. So if a topic is previously funded and is name checked in that call text, chances are you should have a partner from that previously funded proposal involved, because if not, they're going to create a competing bid. So that's a good place to think about. So just moving forward just to the topics we're talking about today, I'm conscious of time. So I would just say that within the three topics talking about, Trinity definitely has people available to be involved in these projects. Many of them are already involved in connecting nature, so maybe you're going to be talking with them today. But just on the first topic on rewilding, obviously Marcus Collier, is well mapped here. He has his novel Eco ERC project on rewilding. Jane Stout, also in School of Natural Sciences, worked on the All Island Pollinator Plan as a social innovation. Oh, sorry, I'm going the wrong way. And then the nature-based therapies for health and well-being, Trinity Centre for Neuroscience has worked on the effects of urbanization on lifelong mental health in the past, as well as the effect of pollution on child and adolescent mental health, which is very relevant to this call text. And then finally, when we look at the last topic on sociopolitics and nature-based solutions, from the governance perspective, we have Mary Lee Rhodes and Siobhan McQuaid, who are very expert in this area. From the citizen engagement perspective, there's Joseph Roach from the School of Education. And we have a large nationally funded research centre called ADAPT, which is specialist on big data and AI tools. So I hope that this has been of use and of help. I'm really looking forward to these breakout sessions, and I'm going to stop there. Thank you very much.
Listen, Emma, thank you so much for that really insightful and detailed presentation. I think we all, I think, have gained a lot from the information you've imparted to us this morning. Now, I am conscious that we are starting to run a little bit behind, so rather than invite the chairs of the breakout sessions up onto the stage, I'm keen now that we all move to the breakout sessions. So just I will briefly just inform you what's happening now. Breakout session room 1. So what you need to do now is you need to leave this room, go back to the sessions area, and find there are 3 sessions then, 3 separate rooms. The first one will be led by Dr. Stuart Conop from University of East London. He's going to lead the session on Let Nature Do the Job and Rewilding Landscapes for Carbon Sequestration and so on, okay? Dr. Adina Dumitru from the University of A Coruña is going to lead the session on developing nature-based therapy for health and well-being. And Marlene Ludder from DRIFT, the Dutch Research Institute for Transitions, will lead the session on assessing the sociopolitics of nature-based solutions for more inclusive and resilient communities. I'm going to let them introduce themselves when they get to the breakout session. They're going to be ably assisted and facilitated by Philippe Lahala Walter from Italy. He'll be helping Stuart or working with Stuart. Siobhan McQuaid from Trinity College will be in the session with Marlene, and Esme Creechman, also from Trinity College, will be working with Adina on that session. So listen, thank you all very much for your attention. Emma and Tiago are going to stay with us and we'll hop from room to room. So if there are questions, you can continue to put them in the chat. Please just leave this room now, go into one of those 3 rooms and enjoy the rest of the morning. Thank you all for your attention.